Hello internet world, and welcome to a new episode of Be Creative. If you haven't caught the earlier episodes in this video series, then please do check them out. There's a link to the playlist down in the video description area. Now, I've been being creative for about 12 years on YouTube, and I've learned a lot of tips and tricks along the way. And also, prior to doing the Geekanoids channel, I was self-employed even prior to then, so I've learned a lot of skills regarding time management, and that's the subject matter of this particular video. These are my top 3 time management tips for if you're self-employed, you work for yourself, or even if you work for somebody else. You can still garner some extra sort of things from this video, I hope, to really make the most of your time and the most of your day. Now, the latter part of this video, I will open up to a Q&A session. This is a live broadcast, of course. You can use the live chat to ask your questions or leave comments. But let's get things underway with the first tip for time management, and that's to not multitask. I couldn't be more serious. Do not try and multitask. If I go back probably, let's say about 7-8 years, it was the big thing. You know, everybody was saying, multitask, do as many things as you can on your screen, get these really large monitors, multiple displays, you can flick between this application, you can do social media at the same time as you're doing your website. And it was the in thing, it was a trend to be able to multitask, but it really is not a good idea. You're best off focusing on one task at a time and completing that task before moving on to the next one. It means you can really focus at the task at hand. For example, I do a lot of video editing, so if I was video editing, I'd get distracted by having my Twitter on my screen at the same time, and then I'd flick across and check my emails and then come back to editing, and it would take me a lot longer to actually finish my editing. So multitasking really does just make every single task take a lot longer. Believe me, do not try and multitask. It really is a pie in the sky idea to actually try and do too many things at the same time. The second tip I've got for you, and this especially is very important if you work for yourself. Of course, it's still important if you work for somebody else, but if you work for yourself in a self-employed environment, and especially if you work at home, is to be strict with yourself. Be quite strict, but in a nice way with other people, especially if you've got family members in in and around your house or home office, etc. And avoid distraction. So let's cover off being strict first of all. You have to really sort of set the ground rules for yourself and other people. That is, if you're working, say, from 8 AM till 6 PM or 9 AM to 5, or as I do, sort of 6 AM till 10 PM, then make it clear to yourself that that is work time. Still take your regular breaks throughout the day as you would if you were employed, but actually be very strict that you're in work mode and you're not going to sit down in front of the television while you're working. It's okay to have background music on if you don't need a quiet environment while you're working, but certainly be very, very strict in what times you're going to be in work mode. And then this applies to family and friend members as well, which is, it's very, very easy for them to think you're working from home or you're self-employed and working in an office, and it's okay to pop in for a quick cup of tea. Now, of course, that's fine if you time that with when you're having your tea break or lunch break or whatever, but during your working hours, you have to just sort of say to them, I am working. I'm really sorry. I know it seems like I'm here and I'm present, but I am working. Otherwise, again, coming back to the not multitasking, you won't get anything done. And avoiding distractions is very important as well, because especially if you do work from home, even if you've got a dedicated office, it's very, very easy to get distracted, especially by television, social media, YouTube videos, etc. And then, alas, your tasks that you want to get completed for that day take a lot longer. Now, I'm going to give you the third tip very shortly, but just to remind you, if you have got any questions at all about time management, now is the time to put them in the live chat. In fact, let's just have a quick look inside the live chat. we have got Aaron Stoy and Paul Whitaker in the live chat. Thanks very much for tuning in, guys. I really do appreciate it. And also Psycho GBR, thank you very much for tuning in live. So as I say before, if you've got any questions at all about time management, now's the time to put them in the live chat. Ask away. And I'll come on to tip number 3, which is to block out certain periods or times during your day or during your schedule to actually complete certain tasks. This sort of ties in to my first tip about not multitasking, but this is a very important thing. Again, going back maybe even 3 or 4 years, I used to put too much onto my schedule. So I'd have my diary or my planner, and I would put myself 10 things to do in the day, and I would never get them all done. I'd end up being very disappointed by the end of the day. So I've lessened that and made it maybe 3 or 4 things. And then if I complete all of those tasks for the day, I can move on to the next day's tasks. But I block out certain times in the day to do certain things. So for example, from maybe 7 AM to 8 AM, that time is blocked out for me to do all of my social media work. So that's things like sharing my deals on Geek Discounts, answering questions or comments on my YouTube videos, getting back to people that have messaged me on Twitter, and also dealing with emails. And then from when I finish that, from sort of 8 AM to 10 AM is my production time. Now this isn't the same every day, I'm just giving you an example of a typical day. So for those 2 hours I'm doing production, I'm doing things like my live broadcasts, maybe recording videos for a pre-recorded video that's coming out later in the week, and then just sort of planning what I'm going to do production wise. And then when I finish that, I might take a break. So I get my tea break as I would if I was working for somebody. So I'll have a break from 10 AM to maybe 10:20 AM. And then for the rest of the morning, that time would probably be blocked out for contacting companies and dealing with all the communication aspects of running a business. Then I'd have lunch, and then I'd have blocks in the afternoon to actually do certain tasks. And it's by sort of concentrating and just segmenting the day like that that you'll get the most out of the hours in the day. And you also don't end up keeping on doing the multitasking thing, which I talked about in tip number 1, because you're doing a certain thing for an hour or a certain thing for 2 hours and then moving on to the next task. Instead of dipping into doing a few emails, I have set times throughout the day where I will check my emails, and that might be something like 10 to 12 just before I break for lunch. And then again at around about 4 PM I'll do another sit down and go through emails for the day. It's a really good way of doing things. Now I have got a bonus tip, but let's take a look inside the live chat. Cole Malone, I work from a home office. It can be hard to get away from work late in the night. Here's a tip for you to get away from work late at night. Now if you've got a separate room that you work from, then it's a little bit easier, because I would set myself a cut-off time. It could be 6 PM, could be 7 PM, whenever I sit down for the family meal, for example, and then that door gets shut. So the editing room here, the door gets shut, and then it's family time. I might do a little section of work later on in the evening, but for the 2 or 3 hours around that meal time, then that's the break away from work. And you do need that. You need that to recharge and refocus so that you've got the energy for the next day. If you haven't got a dedicated room, here's a quick tip for you, because many years ago I used to have my sort of desk and computer set up in the main sort of living area. Big tip for you that does work if you're strict with yourself is get a sheet, nice white sheet or something that matches your decor, or a throw that where the material that you're using matches your decor, and actually put that over your computer setup. If you're working on the computer, of course, or over your work area, make sure everything's turned off and then cover it up. Another tip, if you've got the room to do this, is buy it like a room divider. Have that folded up and out of the way during the work day when you're working. But when it comes to relaxing, put that room divider up so that you can't see the work area, and it really does help a lot. I hope that helps you, Cole. Let me know how you get on with it. Anyway, I've got a bonus tip. Here's a bonus tip for you, which is to try and change your habits. So if you've been self-employed for 6 months, a year, 2 years, 10 years, doesn't matter how long really, and you're finding you're lacking in sort of getting things done, it's hard to either get going in the morning, or it's hard to finish at night, or you're just sort of lacking that energy, try just changing your habits. Sort of go to bed 30 minutes earlier or an hour earlier in the evening, and then get up 30 minutes earlier or an hour earlier. Or do it the other way round. Stay up an hour later and then get up an hour later. And just experiment by switching these habits in and out to see when your most productive time is. My most productive time is between sort of 6 AM and 9 AM every morning. I get so much done within those 3 hours, and then I go to bed earlier. I find that if I stay up late and get up later, it takes me longer to get going in the morning. So that bonus tip is to just try and change your habits, switch things up a bit and see what works for you. So anyway, that is it for this particular episode of Be Creative. I hope those 3 tips really help you. Keep on creating. If you've got any questions at all about running a business, time management skills, pop them in the comments section below. Thanks very much for watching, everyone. Don't forget to stay tuned. Hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed so you don't miss out on my future videos, including another episode of Be Creative next week. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.